Well, I wanted to do an initial thoughts video on this AK before I started really running it. But I was really hoping that my new recording microphone would be here by now. Unfortunately, Amazon lost it. So I don't have one. So hopefully you can hear me. So this is the WBP 556 Jack. This is the DIY, which means when you buy it, you don't get any furniture, no magazines, nothing. You get a barreled receiver, a trigger, and internals. No muzzle, nothing else. What I ended up doing for this was, I started, like I said, the 556 Jack, the Midwest Industries side folding Alpha stock, the Midwest Industries top rail folding dust cover, and the Midwest Industries 10-inch M-Lock, all from the Alpha series. I did a little no-name grip I found at a local gun shop that I really liked, and I just chomped it. But I like it so far. You might have noticed there are two lights on here. Well, you'd be an idiot, because these are not both lights. One is an illuminator. Yeah, this top one here is the Surefire M640 DFT turbo. That's my white light. I have it running to a mod button. Down here we have the Goon beam infrared 850 illuminator, which I have running to a Unity tap sync. On the other end of the tap sync, on this side, we have a Holosun. I'm going to get this designation wrong. LE117IR. It's the standalone infrared, no coaxial visible laser, straight infrared. Why did I do that? Because I wasn't going to pay an extra $300 to get the visible laser when all I'm going to use it for is zeroing. Waste of money in my opinion. I just zeroed it under night vision like a grown-up. The muzzle is the Yankee Hill Phantom QD. They actually do make this version in the left-handed thread pitch for an AK. Unfortunately, this is the only version they make for it, and this is what my can has to mount on, so I had no other options for a muzzle device. But I mean, it's solid. My can sucks anyway, so eventually I'll get something else. On top, Eotech EXPS3, US palm grip. This is a Palmetto State magazine, 556 AK mag, that I did the fake bakelite on. It was originally black, but it works well. They did take fitting. PSA magazines have a much larger rear locking lug than the WBP mags, so you have to grind those out to get them to work, but after you do that, they work just fine. Texas weapon system, Hobknob, charging handle knob, and I think that's it. I still have the WBP trigger in there. Overall, I'm happy with how it turned out. It is heavy. It comes in about 12 pounds, 12 and a half-ish loaded. It performs well. I've not done much shooting with it at all yet. I've got it zeroed, and that's about it. I really wanted to do a few hours worth of rucking and hiking with it to see how the ergonomics work, and then change whatever I feel needs changed before I start running drills with it. That way I'm not wasting ammo and then having to relearn the ergonomics to it if I change something. So this is my second real out there hike with it. A few days ago I did one under night vision. Today I don't think I'm going to go that long because I got rained on when we were doing that and it wasn't fun, and I really don't want to do it again today, and it's starting to rain. I'm loving the mod button. Excellent design, small, compact. I love everything about it. I love the Surefire. I love the Goon beam. I love the Holosun. I'll tell you what I don't like is the Unity tap sync. This thing is an absolute hot pile of garbage. When I first got it, I got it from tnvc.com, and I learned afterwards that apparently they're kind of sketchy. Even though they're a big company in night vision, they pull some sketchy stuff. So I don't know. I've messaged Unity to see if I could confirm that this is legitimate and that TNVC didn't send me a wish.com sync. They did not respond to my messages yet. Hopefully eventually they do. All the product coding on it, all the packaging, I'd be very shocked if it's not the real thing. And I've heard similar complaints that I have from other people that got theirs from elsewhere. So I'm thinking this thing just sucks. The plastic molding around it. All right, let's preface this by saying this is a $200 light switch almost, like $170 or something. Just for a light switch. That doesn't include tail caps, nothing else. This thing should be flawless for what it cost. But it sucks in every way possible. The housing is all plastic, and it's very poorly molded plastic. There's a quite visible seam between the top and bottom halves where they sandwiched it together to put the electronics in. Like, there's spacing gaps all through it. It's all ejection molded, and there's so much excess plastic sticking off the housing everywhere. It looks like a dog chewed on it. It's just absolutely horrible quality control for something that costs this much money. I could look over that. Even though I'm concerned with the gap in the housing, that's not going to be waterproof. Like, legitimately concerned. So hopefully I don't go for a swim. The biggest problem was I got, so for the Surefire, I used the Surefire tail cap, obviously. The tap sync goes into the Holosun laser and the Goon beam illuminator. Goon beam illuminator uses a streamlight housing. So to adapt it to a Surefire tail cap, I had to get just an adapter, which I got from Arasaka. So it goes from the housing to the Arasaka adapter, then into a Surefire tail cap. So both the adapter and the tail cap, quality name brands. Shouldn't have an issue with either of them. But for some reason, when you plug the Unity into it, it's completely shorted out. Like, you have to wiggle it and sometimes it'll come on. I eventually just started beating on it until it stayed on. Now it stays on. For how long? Who knows? It's probably going to go out when I need it. I don't plan on sticking with this thing for long because of that. Since I beat it into submission and got the whole thing together, it's worked. So we'll see if it stays that way. Other than that, though, everything on here I'm happy with. The handguard design, I know a lot of the AK purists don't like it. Well, one, because it's not Zenico. Sorry, I'm not paying $1,000 for a handguard for collector value. I don't care. This is a very, very solid quality handguard. It's very cold. It's below freezing out right now. This is very cold. I'll be putting gloves on later. But the mounting points, pretty generous. Worked out pretty well. If you've noticed, I have the tap sync on a 45-degree angle. That is because of the one complaint I have about this rail, which is at the top rail section, they cut this huge, like, half-inch chunk out of the top for where the gas tube's upper handguard would lock into place. That doesn't need to be cut that big at all, let alone if you just put, like, a plain gas tube on there. You won't have to have it, period. But what that does is it severely limits your ability to put stuff on the top rail. The mod button fits just fine. The tap sync, it's impossible. It uses a long rail channel. About the length of that was about 3.5, 4 inches. The longest section of Picatinny rail is back here on the rear, which is maybe 2 if you're lucky, about 1.5 up here. So you're very limited on what you can put on that top rail. Now, again, you do have a lot of M-lock sections on the side, and up at the top is narrower. So you have all different ways to get stuff in really tight, as well as you have 45-degree angles, like I said, which is what I ended up doing for that. Overall, the ergonomics actually ended up working really well. I naturally rest my thumb between the tap sync and the mod button. There's a recess there. That makes for a good natural grip. And when I want to roll into the white light, I pull my thumb back just a 1/4 of an inch. There's my white light. If I want the rear button, so I got the V4. They have 4 variants of the tap sync that let you configure it however you want. The way I did it was the rear button does my illuminator and the laser at the same time. Front button just does the laser. So I can roll into that. If if I want to. If I, for some reason, do want to just designate something with a laser without shining a beacon to the world, here I am, I can reach up here more and just hit that without hitting my illuminator. I know some guys don't see that as useful. I like it. To each their own. If you don't like it, get a different version. I'd say don't buy one of these pieces of junk at all. But that's just me. I'll never buy another Unity product again. I don't care how good their mounts are. Salty. Oh, and I went with a Viking Tactics sling, I think it is. I don't remember. I pulled it off a rifle. Dust cover. The top rail dust cover seems solid. It does have a little bit of give from front to back, and it's spring-loaded up here towards the front trunnion. So it always has that rearward pressure. I don't foresee it being a zero hold issue, but we shall see. If anybody doesn't know, with this top cover, you have to replace your recoil spring and the guide rod, and it comes with all of that with it. There are two variants. The standard one works with most AKM. I think it's the underfolder receivers that have to use a special internal parts kit for these things, which you can get when you buy it all together. You just have to tell Midwest Industries, hey, I need one of those, not the default one it comes with. The jacks come with an extended safety paddle, so that's nice. It is very stiff out of the box, but it's already broken in pretty well, even as little as I've shot with it. I have done a decent amount of dry firing and reloading just because why not? But now I know everybody's waiting for the stock. The stock that has caused all the drama. It sucks. No, it doesn't suck, but it's not great. So they do make, if you've noticed, I've got a little extender back here that lets you use a TANG trunnion without having to cut it, because they refuse to offer this stock with an insert. You have to put it on a Picatinny mount. So if you have a TANG trunnion, you have to cut it off, or you have to add an extra inch to the back here with this spacer that allows you to use it, which at its minimum length of pull, it measures almost exactly to where I would run an AR stock, but it feels weird. I can't figure out why. I don't like it. I've tried moving this up all the way and this up all the way just so I can dig down a little lower on it. I've run Zastava AKs for a while, so I'm used to the higher optics and just the ergonomics of an AK. Something just feels different, and I can't put my thumb on it, and I don't like it. But I'm already learning to get over that. It's not the end of the world. What really, really sucks about this thing is that it doesn't lock, like, at all. Like, you can just push that thing over. I've not had it collapse on me while I'm trying to, like, run or shoot or anything yet, but like I said, I've barely started to train with this thing. I foresee that being an issue. This locking mechanism is something Midwest Industries has been using for a long time with stocks before the Alpha series, and it's just a horrible design, why they refuse to change it. Oh, I should add, with this rear TANG trunnion extension, if you don't cut your TANG, you cannot left side fold. You have to right side fold, because the way this mechanism works is as it folds, the whole stock either goes up or down depending which way you have it facing. The TANG covers that mechanism, so you have to rotate it so it moves downward as you fold it, which means the only way you can go is to this side, which comes into another problem. If you're running an extended safety, it doesn't close all the way, which means what little tension it has to hold itself shut doesn't exist. So you can't walk with this thing folded if you sling it on the existing sling mount over here, because it will just pull itself open as you have it slung, and it'll just boppity 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 all over the place. So overall, horrible design, which is a shame because it's very solidly built, and from the folding mechanism back, I love it. It's very well done, but that folder just sucks. It's like $270 stock if you get it fully loaded with extension and folder. I got mine on sale for $1.99. It's not the end of the world. But for $1.99, I think you can get, I think they have 3 versions. The one that doesn't side fold, but has the length of pull extension, and then the one that doesn't do anything. It's just a solid fixed stock. If I were to recommend to anybody, unless you absolutely have to have side folding ability, just get the length of pull extender. It's not worth it to have to worry about this thing just folding. I will say, if you take your safety off, then it'll kind of lock close, but it still barely clears it. And you don't want to walk around with your desk cover open and your safety off. The Texas weapon system hobnob's really solid. Unlike a lot of the charging handle knobs on the market, this has 3 different screws that kind of claw around the existing charging handle and make it significantly more solid. I snugged it down with Loctite, took a shot, it loosened up. I snugged it down a little since it worked itself in, and I've not had it come loose since. It's very, very solid design. I love it. Overall, this is an interesting rifle. I'm glad I did it. There's very few things I would have done differently. There are some, but my primary focus on this rifle was night vision. This is my first rifle I've built from the ground up since buying night vision, so I wanted something that can do everything, which is obviously why I went with the Eotech. The choice to go with dual illumination, I would not do again. This is already a heavy rifle. You don't really feel a difference, but it just adds extra clutter up there, and because of the tap sink taking up so much space, my rail is just very cluttered. Even though I do get a decent ergonomic grip on there, it's could be a lot better. So eventually I may end up buying a vampire head for the Surefire, but in the meantime it works just fine. And if you're going to do dual illumination and have a standalone laser, this is a decent way to do it, other than the tap sync. But yeah, overall it's not too shabby. Next review is going to be on this pack I got. Well, my fingers are froze. I'm going to head on out. I'll see you guys at the range.